Avantdale Bowling Club. Goddamn. So this is a jazz rap outfit from New Zealand, led by a man named Tom Scott. And yeah, I just kind of didn't know that at all going into this. I had no clue what this was. I just kind of hit play on a whim. And yeah, this is kind of the best thing I've listened to in rap this year. What the fuck? 2018 has not really been that strong for rap, so it was really quite surprising, refreshing, and wonderful to discover how brilliant this album was. This thing really took me by surprise. It is one of the most cerebral, therapeutic, reflective, and introspective rap records I've listened to in a while. I really found the writing on this thing quite compelling. The jazz instrumentation, it's not your typical jazz rap. Don't expect just like some boom bap beats with some jazz rap samples, like Tribe Called Quest type shit. I don't expect that. The jazz side of this album is very much literal, like just free jazz. Like this sounds like it was produced by Kamasi Washington or like Puerto Cartel or something. Bad, not good, you know, just shit like that. Like this is really like free jazz, like it's bustling, it's constantly shifting and adapting to what Tom's doing lyrically, or just with his rapping, just his flow, just like I love how Tom and the instrumentals are just always in perfect harmony with one another all over this album. It's really, really special. Because the music here is genuinely really beautiful and quite characterful. I really feel like the music on this album has just as much personality as Tom does. They kind of coalesce alongside each other really wonderfully at points on this album. The way Tom will sort of adapt and adjust his flow to fit the tone of the instrumental, and how the instrumental will sort of get more busy and more frantic during the more heavy parts of his lyrical verses, which are quite wordy and dense a lot of the time, even though the lyrics, the writing on this album, it's not exactly very poetic, or it's not really evoking any strong imagery, it's not really symbolizing anything, it's nothing like that. The writing from Tom on this album is incredibly direct and blunt, just personal storytelling, and I think that's why it hits so hard for me. Like nothing really will go massively over your head, but you'll pick up little nuggets on subsequent listens for sure. Because this album's pretty sprawling, it's about 50 plus minutes long, only 8 tracks though, because you have 3 7-minute long tracks, so you have a 9-minute long track, an 8-minute long track, you have some really lengthy cuts here. And bar the final track being just an instrumental, the songs here are all pretty dense and there's quite a lot to unpack. I found myself just peeling away the layers more and more on every listen. The opening track sort of sees Tom sort of talk about his life in a really interesting way. It's called Years Gone By, and the idea of this track is that he's kind of going through each individual year he's been alive and sort of detailing a significant moment in his life from that year. We're just sort of seeing his progression and his life story in a really engaging and throttling way here. I really like that concept and idea for that song. The song Friends is about it's about always being there for the people that mean most to you, but there's also a lingering underlying theme of loneliness and how he kind of questions, he's kind of unsure if anyone's really truly by his side, because at the end of the day it's only yourself you can rely on. And that's something that really seems to be damaging and affecting Tom on this track in a really poignant way, and I thought the way it was executed was really beautiful. The song Home I thought was really beautiful as well, a very patient and rewarding track here. This song is sort of all about finding your place in the world and just discovering where you belong and how your goal can change, you know, what you think you want to do in your life. It can change and sort of alter your perspective on where you thought you were heading and where you are going to go now. A lot of the lyrics on this thing are quite existential and quite reflective, and I found that personally really compelling a lot of the time. Track 4, Liam, you're gonna love this one. Hydration is a prominent theme on this thing too, although it's more of just like a symbol kind of to me. I think it is, at least, for just sort of looking after yourself. That seems to be the theme of this track. Just focusing on you, even if that means just being a recluse and isolating yourself from the world around you. I love the way this track is paced and structured. The intro sequence, the first couple minutes, is really watery, hence the title, and it's just generally really intoxicating. It sort of lures you in before breaking into this really frenetic and exciting sequence where there are these booming kicks, these 808s, and he's rapping really quickly, and it's a much more frantic and in-your-face, intense moment. And then it ends off kind of softly with a really just gorgeous finish where the lyrics get a lot more cerebral, continuing to express how he feels like an outcast and how he's the priority is always just to focus on himself. And I love those lyrics as well, where he sort of reflects on his place in the world and the people around him, how he's afraid to ask the most burning questions on his mind at times, how his goals and ambitions and dreams have changed from being a rapper to just making his kids smile and making his family proud, just how those things, as he's matured more and more, have just increased in value and weight to him. I thought it was a really beautiful lyrical moment, and all of it is just performed with so much rawness and humanity, and the instrumentals are so consistently just stunning to listen to, in my opinion, just so beautiful. A really great recording here, and I love, like, for example, on the song Quincy's March, there are these strings that just sneak in really subtly, and it's just haunting as fuck. Like, I think the instrumentals really do carry a lot of emotional resonance. The only instrumental I found a little bit underwhelming was probably on the song Old Dogs. I think this track didn't really do enough to separate itself from the other tracks here. I found the horns a little bit dime a dozen. It kind of reminded me of one of the songs that Sean C uses in the background of his video. It just didn't really have the same amount of life and fruitfulness that I thought the other tracks did. And another problem I will say I have with this album is that Tom Scott himself, whilst he's a really exciting performer and he's really compelling to listen to on this thing for the most part, there are a few points where I feel like he's rapping really quick or he's doing something super just like technical, just kind of for the sake of it, and it doesn't really kind of fit his character much on this album, if that makes sense. And there are points where I feel like he's favoring giving a really technical and impressive lyrical performance. He's favoring that over coming off as genuine as possible. On a few points, particularly on the song Pocket Lint, where he's got a few kind of weird vocal quirks going on that track. Like, they just felt a little bit forced, and there are just a few points where it just seems like he's kind of dishing out a speedy flow when he doesn't really need to. Kind of reminding me of Logic a little bit. But these moments are very brief and far and few between. There's not a whole lot of them. It's just a small thing, but it kind of breaks the immersion because the album itself is so transparent, and it never ever at one point feels like it's trying to show off or anything. So these moments just felt slightly out of place when he would just do these really technical things just kind of for the sake of it. But for the most part, his flow switch-ups are appropriate because they adapt to what's happening instrumentally, but there are just a few points where it felt slightly unnecessary and kind of took me out of the immersive atmosphere and character that this album does such a great job of developing. But outside of that, this is a really gorgeous, therapeutic, and reflective rap album that has really stuck with me quite a lot. I'm unsure on how you guys will take it. I recommend listening to this thing. I think it's fucking wonderful. I'm giving it a really high 8. It is this close to a 9. So close. I can't give it a 9. I've been battling that like crazy, and I can't quite justify the 9 out of 10 just to myself personally, but it's an incredibly strong 8, one of the strongest 8s this year, one of my favorite albums this year. Really love this thing. Really curious to see how you guys would take it. I don't know if it's going to hit you in the same way it did for me, but this thing really managed to strike a chord with me personally. And yeah, just musically, the jazz instrumentation here from front to back is just stunning and really adds to the fragility of this album. I really could not imagine this thing having any other instrumental style. And yeah, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!